Welcome to the Happy Doc, the voice of fulfilled physicians. This show is about bringing inspirational, creative, successful, and happy health professionals to you. Get ready to learn how you can be a happy doctor too.
Welcome back to another episode of The Happy Doc. For those of you who missed last week's episode, my name is Alex Iacono, and I'm the audio technical guy for The Happy Doc, as well as a third-year student at PCOM. Last week, we sat down for part one of our interview with Diane Evans. And guys, if you haven't had a chance to listen to part one, I highly recommend you give that one a listen before getting on to the second part of our interview with her. In this part of the interview, we will be discussing with Diane about boards, how to reach her, how to deal with failure, and how to come back from failure. Dr. Evans has a lot of insight into these issues through her work with passingyourob-gynboards.com, which you guys should definitely check out if you have the time. Again, if you guys like these shorter length episodes that better fit into a daily commute, please let us know, or if you like the longer episodes, let us know that as well. Additionally, if you have any topics or health professionals you think we should talk with, please let us know through our social media channels. Now, without further delay, let's jump right into where we left off in part one of our interview with Dr. Diane Evans. Take it away, Taylor.
Awesome. So, it sounds like you have, really great setup in terms of educating, and that's really based off the fact you've had so many experiences that allow you to connect, and that really has to do a lot with your work in locums. So how could people reach out to you? What website channels do you have, or what email might people get a better picture of getting in contact with you?
Well, the best email to really get in contact with me is info, I-N-F-O, at passing, P-A-S-S-I-N-G, your, Y-O-U-R, O-B-G-Y-N, boards.com. So that's info at passingyourob-gynboards.com. You can reference, hey, I heard you on Happy Doc and I wanted some more information. And that's probably the best site to get hold of me. I have lots of other people that are helping me out with my website now and doing some speaking engagements with the ABC Board Review course coming up, and I'm going to be doing some speaking with Comp Health hopefully in the future. And anyone who has any questions, whether it be anything in particular about locums, being an OBGYN, help, I failed my oral boards and my boss is mad at me and I don't want my wife to divorce me. And trust me, I've run into that. I've had unfortunate docs that their wives divorce them after they fail the boards and wow. they're sitting here destitute because they're like, geez, I lost my job. I lost my wife. What do I need to do? How am I going to pass these boards? And you run into that very commonly. And I don't want that for people. And I really want to be the person out there that I am more than happy to talk to anyone. I'm a full-time OBGYN. That's my primary focus, and that's my career, and that's what I want to do. But it gives me so much more enjoyment also to help guide my fellow OBGYNs and my fellow physician colleagues on, questions that they might have about life in general. And I think I'm so wonderful and grateful for you because it's so important to really have work-life balance, and it's so important, too, to find great people and great mentors like you to talk to, and I just really appreciate you taking the time to interview me on the show today.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And what I wanted to say and all of that is, you're mentioning these things happening in terms of your OBGYN colleagues, right? But right. I've had, making this podcast, I've had many people reach out and say, Taylor, I failed my step 2 exam. What do I do? Taylor, I failed my step 1 exam. What do I do? Taylor, I got a really low score on my COMAT or my COMSE or my NBME exams for board. So, point being is, this is all across the spectrum. And something I did want to touch on you about, and you brought this up, is failure and coming back, So could you give me an example of not only just failure and people that you might have failed and have come back, through your program, but also the guilt and the shame around this topic and how common it is?
It's fairly common. So for the certifying boards, there's about 19% of people that fail the board. So that's almost 1 in 5. And it's a lot of things that people don't like to talk to, and people find me from my website. People find me from word of mouth. And the biggest thing I really like to do is I really like to reassure them that, you didn't get this far in your career to just give up. And a lot of times it just has to do with their speaking ability. I'm a Toastmaster, so I practice public speaking. I teach for the American College of Family Practitioner, the osteopathic division within the AOA, the American Osteopathic Association. I'm lucky enough to be on the membership committee at the American College of Osteopathic OBGYNs. I'm very fortunate to speak all the time. And I think, since I've been doing that since early in my research career, I've been going out and giving lectures. It's very easy for me to get up in front of 6 strangers and answer questions they might have in rapid fire sequence. But for the general OBGYN or for the general med student out there or the resident out there, when you get in those attending, rapid sequence fire questions, a lot of people get really nervous. And that's the one thing that I really work with is trying to calm people down, saying, look, you failed once, but this time it's going to be different. This time we're going to have a study plan. This time we're going to go over your case list. And this time we're really going to make sure that you understand what your certification is required, because it's important to know what the standard of care is. And that's very important for our profession. Whatever you are, an OBGYN, a pediatrician, a neurologist, we all take that same oath as, we need to uphold to the highest standard of care. And the board exam really likes to make sure that they're going to graduate someone who follows those standards and who they think is a competent physician. And of course, I don't represent the board. This is all me and my ideas regarding why people may not pass the boards. But part of the big thing is sometimes when you get into that stressful situation, you can't think of the answer. And I remember one of my friends telling me she went and took the boards, and it was like there was Chinese on the screen, that she did not understand one letter on the screen.
Wow.
And so now this is your profession, right? You're doing psychiatry. So what's that called? When they're so nervous, they have this fight or flight response, and all of a sudden English isn't English anymore. And they can't understand it and they can't read it.
Yeah, so it's panic, but it's just it's the whole panic attack syndrome. That just it really plays in the fact that we can function when it comes to the normal day activities, but when the stress is on or we feel like we're being judged, things get really changed. Right.
Yeah, and I think that makes a huge deal. And that's a lot. That's about 40% of the clients that I deal with.
Yeah.
I have that problem. And that's one of the big things where, working with people like you or working with some of my other psychiatry friends, I'm really able to help these physicians out. And it's really not just about going to a board review course. If you go to the American Board of OBGYN conferences, like the ACOG conference, they'll come right out and tell you, you really don't need to go to a board review course, and you really don't. You just need to have a good, clear purpose on how you're going to pass the boards. And it not only do you need to know the material, but you also have to be able to clearly deliver it, and also understand that you're going to be in a pressured situation to answer very uncomfortable questions, and you can't let your mind go blank during that situation. And some of us just don't have that expertise. There's not a lot of people that like going to Toastmaster meetings. I'm kind of the weird one where I like doing that and getting put on the spot. To me, that's fun, but for other people, they get into the panic mode. And so that's a big part of what I do, is just trying to identify really how to improve people's success. And I'm kind of like if you want to get into shape, which actually I've done over the past year, I've hired about 3 or 4 different trainers and got myself into shape. But if you want to really seriously get into shape or you want to compete, you get a trainer at the gym that'll go with you and tell you what you need to eat and tell you what exercise you need to do and tell you how many repetitions. And that's the same thing that I do. I'll look at the whole physician and I'll really dissect down. Look, what do you do on a regular basis? What does your day look like? Who do you practice with? What are your hours like? And what do you think you went wrong on the boards? And just trying to figure out their practice style, what their life's like, what their family commitments are, and really develop an individual study plan. And that's the whole success behind it, not just going to the board review course. And a lot of people don't realize that, and I'm just excited that you give me a chance to teach my OBGYN colleagues that might be residents or medical students who are interested in OB. When it comes time to your boards, it's very, very important to have a clear purpose and to really carve out a year of study time. And a lot of people just like to throw things together at the last minute, and you can't do that. Yeah. You really can't do that. Just like your medical school interview, you wouldn't have prepped like 15 or, 2 weeks before you went. You spent months perfecting everything.
Yeah, definitely. And, there's something I wanted to touch on here, especially for the listeners, is the importance of mentorship and coaching like you have discussed. And I want the listeners to know, first off, I have mentors, right? I have people that are cheering me on in the background and who are giving me great advice. And it wouldn't be kosher, so to speak. It wouldn't be authentic for me to want to help other students and to coach other students. And it wouldn't be helpful for Dr. Diane here to be coaching and helping students if we didn't believe in the fact that mentorship does actually work. And I want to highlight this in the conversation is what is something that you've been working on and who might be able to help you? Who's a great mentor in that field? And if you don't have a mentor, who could you reach out to help you? Because I will say, whether it costs money or it costs time or whatever, that sacrifice you make will pay in dividends when it comes to promoting yourself in the long term. And actually, I think I was on your board's website, and there was a statistic on there that not passing actually makes you lose $43,000 or something like that. So can you touch on that? The fact that doing things right the first time really saves you a lot of time and effort and investment.
I think that's really important to focus on. And what people don't realize is once you get out, you have to take a certain amount of time off to do your case lists. You have to have a certain amount of time to do your boards. And you also are in a position where you're doing surgeries, and a lot of people are on an RVU system. So if you take 3 weeks off and you're not going to operate and you're not going to have that RVUs, the money per case generated in. At the end of the day, if you add all the time you take off, the time you take for your case list, the time you take for a board review course, and you extrapolate all that, it comes out to about $43,000 for not passing your boards. And that's, a lot of people say, Jesus, I don't really think it's that much. But if you sit down and you really think about it, it's a huge financial impact. And I don't do that as a scare tactic, but just to try and tell people that, it's really important to prepare correctly the first time around.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, I mean, regardless of what specialty you go into, and especially for all the OBGYN individuals, physicians and residents and students that are interested, it's so great to have you, Dr. Diane, as a resource, on this episode. And before I let you go, there are just a couple of questions I want to touch on. Since you are a coach and you definitely seem like someone who seizes the day, what is one thing you like to build into your schedule to allow you to seize the day?
I do exercise. I'm an avid exerciser, so I try and do at least an hour and a half a day. Sometimes I break that up into a morning session. Sometimes I break that up into an evening session. I'm a big believer in high intensity workouts, and I like to do interval runs on the treadmill or laps in my pool, or simply using different types of weights. And I like to do that. And I think that helps me. It helps my clarity. And then at least once a week, I find some time to do some meditation. I think that's important as well.
Beautiful. Awesome. That's great. And I love to get that perspective. And then, something we've touched on this entire conversation has been the fact that your career does not have to be linear, the fact that there's so many opportunities out there. Going through your life's path and life's journey, what is a tip that you might want to leave to the listeners today?
I think one of the things that you need to understand is once you become a physician, it doesn't just stop with getting your first job. You have to get through your boards, and you have to make sure that you stay on top of it with your CMEs. And this is something that, you're so burnt out after residency. You get out there, you start making real money, and then you just kind of let all your studying go. And it's kind of like being like an avid exerciser. As soon as you stop working out, you're going to gain that 10 or 15 pounds and have that beer belly, and your clothes aren't going to fit, and you're going to feel miserable. Well, the same thing's going to happen to you if you just kind of give up learning. And so as physicians, I think that's the most important thing that I can tell people is you have to stay physically fit, and you also have to stay mentally fit. And I think that's a huge, huge thing that I really like to partake on all of our different colleagues out there is, always try and stay on top of everything with your knowledge. Wow.
I love that. And that's a really great point. So listeners out there, this is a lifestyle design. This is a lifestyle to constantly learn. And Dr. Diane's definitely given us a strong example of that in her own life and her own career. So Dr. Diane, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being on here like 1,000 times. Like, this has been really amazing to have you. Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. And thanks so much for having me. And just so everyone knows, these are all my opinions. I don't represent any of the entities that I work or will work for. And these are all my own opinions. These are my own suggestions on how to be happy in life. And definitely, I think you should give locums a try, even if it's only doing a couple of weekends a year. I think it would just broaden your horizons to get different experiences.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we want you to definitely subscribe to our social media channels. Check out the Happy Doc on Facebook, iTunes, Twitter, and Instagram. Please like, subscribe, share, and send us feedback. And please check out the website, www.thehappydoc.com. Again, we hope you enjoyed The Happy Doc, the voice of fulfilled physicians. Peace out.